Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for you to learn about James A. Garfield, aka Jag. He was our 20th president, though, James A. Garfield.
Maybe.
Anyway, James A. Garfield. It's from Welsh ancestry. Yeah, his name is suspiciously easy to spell.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like vaguely pronounceable. They must have anglicized it at some point.
He's born in a log cabin here in Ohio.
Risk of splinters.
His father died before he was like even a year and a half old. Little James, that is. Anyway, he ended up going to the Western Reserve Eclectic Institute in Hiram, Ohio, which is now Hiram College, and then later transferred to Williams College, where he was part of the Delta Upsilon frat, because if you're going to become president, you have to be part of a fraternity and or secret society.
It's a notorious party frat at Hiram, I think.
Yeah, that was at Williams.
Oh, this is a Williams, okay, sorry.
In 1856,
even more notorious there.
In 1856, he graduated, but apparently he wasn't good at chemistry. But everything else he was awesome at, because he was like, I'm nerdy and I love reading. All the time.
Chemistry's a demon science, anyway.
He, worked as a preacher for, a year, but then he was like, wait, that's not what I want to do, and so he stopped. Then he taught at the Eclectic Institute for a while, and then eventually became the principal there. But then, eventually got married to his wife Lucretia in 1858, and they eventually had 7 children, the middle 5 of whom lived.
So the book ended
with dead babies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no,
they weren't babies.
The one was a little bit older, right?
Yeah, they were both a little bit older. They did not take a honeymoon, however. He just, went to work. Yeah, and they didn't even really live together that much. The first several years that they were married, he was like, I'm in DC, and you're
what did she
wherever
call
you
it?
are.
It was like their dark period or something?
Yeah, something like their dark period. He also had an affair with some woman named Lucia Calhoun in the mid-1860s. But eventually they worked things out in their marriage after James, he got sick, and they had to come home, and then his wife took care of it, and then they decided they liked each other.
So when she became a proper mother figure to him?
Right.
Good.
Right.
It's totally normal.
But they wrote each other tons of letters, which his wife kept in this crazy vault later on, and
wrapped them up in special paper and stuff.
Yeah. But so as a principal, he decided he wasn't making enough money, so he decided to study the law. He passed the Ohio bar. Eventually was elected to the state senate, and he was a Republican. How do you feel about that Benjamin Franklin Avon bust thing?
He's just checking out your notes.
Oh.
Let's see what's coming next.
Oh, okay. Okay, Ben.
Careful, his head's very loose.
Okay.
Also musky.
During the Civil War, James A. Garfield was like, I want to be in the army because I'm a man. But they were like,
he just loved his country.
You don't really have any military experience, so we'll just make up some Ohio army.
Whoa, hold on. You're talking about military experience in a war where tactics involve lining up and walking at each other? Irrelevant.
Anyway. There was some sort of shit that went down in Kentucky and blah, 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 blah. But apparently he got elected to the House of Representatives in 1862, so it couldn't have been that busy on the battlefield. And then Lincoln was like, hey, could you actually report to Congress instead of fighting this war or whatever, because you're not really that good at it anyway. So he did that. And according to Wikipedia, he was hawkish in the House of Representatives.
Did he have talent, you think?
He may have had talent.
Fuck with perfect talents.
Some election shit went down, and basically they were like, whatever, James A. Garfield, why don't you just be the candidate for the Republican Party.
Well, they had a bunch of other, you know, more qualified people.
Right,
but
like
they were all,
Garfield, Scott and stuff.
deadlocked and stuff.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So, anyway, he ended up winning the election in 1880. But then he was assassinated, like, 2 months later. Well, he was shot 2 months later.
It's a pretty timely assassination.
Yeah, Charles J. Guiteau, who declared he was a stalwart of the stalwarts, was some crazy dude who, like, really believed in the spoils system, but mostly was just crazy, and chose a revolver with an ivory handle so that it would look good in a museum.
That's my favorite fact about him.
I should look up and see if that revolver is actually in our museum, or if museum people are just like, fuck you, Guiteau. We get to choose what goes in museums, not you.
Yeah, that's a weird enough anecdote that I bet someone has that in a museum somewhere. Even if it's like a half-assed, like, regional museum.
My name is Charles Guiteau. My name I can't deny. For the murder of James A. Garfield, I am condemned to die. Little did I think, while in my youthful bloom, I could carry it to the scaffold and meet my fatal doom.
But he didn't, President Garfield didn't die right away. He was ailing.
Too manly for a meeting.
Yeah, and they were like, we should try and get the bullet out of him, because there was one, like, in his arm, and there was another, like, in his spine / maybe lung. And the doctors were like, well, let's dig around and get it, and give you, like, all these, you know, infections and shit. And Alexander Graham Bell was like, I'm going to invent the metal detector and we'll find it. But apparently he was laying on a metal frame bed and they didn't even realize it, so that kind of threw things off. Yeah, so he lingered for like 80 days and he finally died. But apparently his assassin's brain, or a part of it, is in a Philadelphia museum. And, yeah, it's true. I know you love
stuff about Philadelphia?
Yeah.
This guy.
Ben Franklin loves Philadelphia. I know, I'm sorry, that was horrified everyone.
Just unveiled his cyborg neck.
/ founded it. City of brotherly love.
Totally love the brothers, this guy.
But the rest of Guiteau's brain and his bones are with some of Garfield's bones in the National Museum of Health and Medicine in Washington, D.C., on the grounds where Walter Reed is now, which we know is a really great hospital,
so
right?
They're like in a box somewhere, probably?
Yeah, they're rotting. They're moldy.
They actually use them to stir stuff in the kitchen.
Whatevs.
Bones are good for that. Thickening up a broth.
Yeah, totes. His mother survived him, and she was like a big deal. She'd always like talk to reporters during the campaign and like lived with his wife and his children for like ever, which is probably really annoying for his wife.
Right.
Probably his children too, because, you know,
yeah,
she's
sure,
old.
Crete wasn't down with that.
But we also need to talk about how James A. Garfield was like a not-so-secret genius. So just a few more things. In 1876, he discovered some like fancy proof of the Pythagorean theorem using a trapezoid. I don't know what that means, but it sounds cool. He was also the first and probably only ever ambidextrous president.
But like, especially awesomely so.
Why? Tell them why.
Can I tell them why?
Yeah. Tell them why.
They think that, well, no, they say that someone could ask him a question in English, and he could write the answer simultaneously in Latin with one hand, in ancient Greek with the other.
That's not just ambidextrous, that's like amber language.
Well, it's like trilingual, because you can take it in English and spit it back in Latin and Greek and have to like think it and answer it.
Yeah, that's crazy,
awesome.
man.
Yeah, I would totally vote for that, man.
Kom al jullie jonge christenen en luister eens naar mij. Ik wil jullie wat vertellen, het kost niet zoveel tijd. Voor de moord op James A. Garfield hebben ze mij veroordeeld. Op de 30ste dag van juni sta ik op een hoogschafot. Mijn naam is Charles Guiteau, dat zal ik nooit ontkennen. Ik verliet mijn oude ouders in smart om te sterven. Hoe had ik ooit kunnen denken in mijn jeugd?